Well, I went down to the hardware store to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions."
And welcome to Home Repairs and Solutions, brought to you by Spring Mountain Air, your authorized Amana dealer. The hosts for Home Repairs and Solutions are Mary Pearson and Mark Withers. Now here's your home repair specialists, Mark and Mary.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Aren't we glad it's Friday?
Oh, yes, we are.
I don't know what happened this week, but it needs to be over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm still standing. It's all good.
That is, when you're standing
It's all good.
at the end of the week, it's a good thing. Yeah.
Yep, it is. It is.
Yeah, for sure. So it's been a crazy week for me. I've had more going on in my real estate stuff than I've probably had in 5 or 6 years. I mean, I've been out till 7 and 8 o'clock at night. And
it's kind of late for you, ain't it?
That's kind of late.
Yeah.
Past my bedtime.
Yeah, for an old guy like you.
For an old man, yeah. Somebody mentioned that to me the other day. They seen me on Facebook or something, and it was like close to midnight before I'd gone to bed, and they said something about, "Hey, Gramps, isn't it awful late for you to still be up?" I'm like, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks. What are you doing up?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, it's been extremely busy. Things are going great, and I'm glad it's Friday. Yeah.
Me too. I'm always glad it's Friday because I can come and see you for one.
Well, absolutely.
Because I look forward to seeing you every Friday and doing the show.
Yes.
The most fun hour of my week.
It's the most fun hour of mine.
And we just try to have a good time and hopefully give out some good information to our listeners and maybe help them get their weekend started on a happy note. So if we can do all of that, we're pretty good.
That's right.
We're pretty good. And we do have a guest today, but before we start, we should probably give out phone numbers.
I think we should.
Because you know how we are. We get busy talking and then no one knows how to call us.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you can get a hold of us at 862-9977, 1-800-375-0056 if you're a Verizon wireless customer, star 56, or you can send us a text at 417-838-3192. So, no excuse for not getting a hold of us.
That's right. And you can talk to us about just whatever you want to, home repairs and solutions.
Absolutely.
If you got a question, we'll try and answer the question for you, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. We talk a wide variety of topics on this show. Last week's show was so cool with the folks from Lawrence Photo.
Wasn't that a neat show?
That was a neat show, and so we'll talk about anything. There's just so many things that may not be exactly home repairs, but it's making your home more happy.
That's right.
And that's the bottom line. You want a
right.
happy home. You want good things to happen.
Well, I had not been in Lawrence Photo and Video in many, 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 many years.
Right.
I remember, I think, going when I was a little girl with my grandpa or something. I don't remember. But anyway, it's been a long time. And so Tuesday, I went over there and went into their showroom and looked around. If you have not been there, you have got to go. They have the coolest stuff now that you can do with photos and different things. It is really, really neat. So you need to go check them out if you haven't been there.
Absolutely.
And they do all kinds of neat things, and we kind of talked about this on the show, but get those pictures and stuff off your phones, guys. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Get those downloaded and put on a CD or a safe place where you don't lose them. But, yeah, go check them out. I think they open at 10. Yeah, they should be open now.
Well,
so
there you go.
After you listen to our show, then you can go to Lawrence Photo and Video.
Yep, that's right. Yep. Wait till the show's over.
Wait till the show's over. You might miss something.
That's right. You might. Well, we have a guest with us today that is always a pleasure to have him on here because,
now you're just sucking up to me.
Well, I'm trying to.
Yeah, he's been on here a lot. He knows you.
Yeah, he knows. Our offices are almost across from each other, so he kind of knows how I am. But seriously, it's real estate business is going great right now, and Ron Hartman here with us from Remax House of Brokers.
Thanks for having me. It's always good to be back.
Well, we love having you on the show. You
Yeah.
always bring us some great information, and I do know that real estate has been busy. I know several realtors, and they are pretty happy people right now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They have smiles on their faces, and they seem to, life is good.
Compared to the way it's been the last couple of years, we kind of feel like we're finally seeing, or we're not only seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, we're actually getting to the end of the tunnel, I think. So,
and that's a good thing, I think, for everybody.
Absolutely.
That's good for everybody.
Well, there's just a lot tied with the real estate industry, a lot of different jobs. It just allows people to, move up in houses as the real estate market gets better. So a lot of things are tied to it, and it's good to see it kind of starting to come back a little stronger.
I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a sign of the economy too, I believe, because if people are out buying houses, the economy is a little stronger now than it was. So
it is.
It's moving forward, I think, which is good.
Absolutely. I don't think it's gotten back quite as quick as anybody really wanted it to, but it has slowly gotten back. And I'm a big believer in slow growth is probably better than really fast growth in a lot of situations.
I agree with you, yeah.
It's not always a bad thing, but it is nice that it's kind of getting back to that point again.
It's not a bad thing. It sometimes kind of taxes your patience because as human beings, we're not real patient a lot of times. But
I'm as guilty as that as anybody else, yeah.
Especially if it's your industry, you're waiting to see something happen in.
Yeah.
But.
And I just wanted to mention, you were talking about photography and Lawrence Photo. Yeah. That's kind of a thing we've been talking about now. As people are looking at houses more and more, online is where mostly they've been starting searches, and it's been that way for several years now. I think in real estate, as a real estate agent, photography is one of the more important things you can do to show off that house. When you come across a listing that only has 1 or 2 pictures, my instant thought is, okay, what are they hiding?
What's wrong? Exactly. I agree with you.
Where you have a house that has a good photo spread where you can get a good idea of the rooms, and that haven't been photos that haven't been overly manipulated to give a false impression. That's becoming more and more of an important factor in real estate, I think.
I would agree with you because every now and then I just look at houses. I'm just curious and just kind of what's going on. And if there's not, if they don't have very many pictures, I usually just pass on them.
Yep.
And the other thing that I think is great is not only are you seeing more pictures of the inside of the house, but you're seeing like the surrounding outside area. So it kind of gives you a really neat feel. And then sometimes what we do is if, like my sister keeps trying to get me to move up here, so she's always she finds me a house once a week to buy, but we'll find it, and she'll go, look at this, and we'll look at it. Well, that's pretty neat. Then she goes to Google Earth and Google Earths it.
Yep.
And then puts me down there on the street and looks, and I look around. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool. And then I go back to work, but
yeah.
But there's some neat things you can do with real estate now if you're out there looking.
Absolutely. And not to mention just from photography, but then it also can go into video where instead of just a slideshow of the pictures, you can actually get good video walkthroughs of the house. It gives you a good idea of what the floor plans are. And it just allows the customer to view a lot more properties quickly, and so they don't have to spend quite as much time looking at every single house. Now, you do want to still look at the houses in person. You don't want to make decisions solely on photography because they can be a big difference between what's in person and what's on the computer screen.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Oh, sure.
But some agents, I get kind of cracked up when some of them are using their cell phones to take pictures of the houses. And phones have come a long way with pictures and everything, but it just isn't going to be the same as a good quality camera would be.
So do you suggest that the homeowner do all this themselves, or do you provide that service for them as a real estate agent?
No, the real estate agent should be taking the pictures.
Okay.
I mean, I've had some homeowners who are big photography buffs take some that said, hey, here's some pictures I took in the summer when the trees were real nice or something like that, and we'll be happy to use those. But the agent, I mean, that's what they're hiring us for, is the marketing of the property and taking the pictures. Some agents I know hire photographers to do some properties. Being in real estate, I've kind of liked getting into photography, and so I've kind of bought some of the nicer cameras that kind of help with that, and so I enjoy that part of it. But that's definitely something the agent should be providing.
Okay. Interesting to know.
And, pictures make a difference. And what cracks me up, though, is you'll look at a listing and you'll say, wow, that room looks big, or that's really nice. You actually get there and see it in person, and this just solidifies the point that you made. Yeah. You need to go look.
Yep.
It can be totally different.
It can. And them not even trying to hide anything.
No,
it's just the way it looks
in
a picture versus the room might not look as big in person as it feels like on the picture, because it is hard to get dimensions and stuff like that from just looking at a picture.
And colors are different too, because depending on your computer screen, the colors aren't going to be the same on everybody's screen when they're looking at the rooms.
What light the picture was taken in? Did they use a flash? Was the sun coming
all
in the
kinds
windows?
of issues,
And so there are a lot of different ways to things are a lot different in person and online. So you just definitely got to check it out in person as well.
Now, something I want to bring up that I haven't had a chance to talk to you about yet, but I want your opinion, your feelings on, like, where people go like to Zillow and Truilla and all those. Good, bad?
I think when representing a seller, anything that can get their house more exposure is not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
The problem I have with some of those websites is the listings that are on there aren't always still active. They have they're supposed to be off within 48 hours. I've had some where it's been several weeks where these under contract listings or expired listings are still on there. The estimates that they give on property value are most of the time not accurate at all.
Right.
And it's impossible for them to be accurate because we are a non-disclosure area where sales prices aren't even released to counties.
I was going to ask you, where did they come up with these prices? I've been on some
it-
of those sites, but how did they come up with prices?
The only way they could be getting it is the assessor's office because the assessor has their assessed value of it, but the assessed value is not what market value
Right.
is on a property.
Right.
So they're just not as accurate in there. But they do give good information on some of the stuff like the school ratings. I know a lot of clients have liked seeing those features on it. I just wish it was a little bit more precise in the information that they were given as far as values and what's out there on the market as well.
Well, probably what they should do is if someone finds a home there, then they should go to like your website or call someone, because if it's in the multi-list, you guys will have it.
Yeah.
And then they'll get more realistic information on the local level as opposed to on a national.
And that's what happens a lot of time. I have clients that they use those Zillow and Trulia because they are very user-friendly to be able to go on and search with. But then they've always called and asked me, and there's been several of them that haven't been on the market and some of them that have. What is frustrating as an agent is when you get someone who you don't already have a relationship with, it's not a current client, it's just someone calling from an ad. They'll want to argue with you that, well, it's on Zillow. And I go, I understand that, but the multi-list is, where we get our information. That's what's actively on the market, and it's not on there. So that doesn't happen very often, but because it's a big national company and it has all this marketing and media behind it, some people tend to believe it a little bit more than they should.
Everything on the internet's true, Ron.
Well, I know that, but come on.
It's on the internet. It's got to be true.
It's got to be true, for sure. I had an instance a few weeks ago. Some folks, we've been looking for them a lot to build a house on.
Yeah.
And she calls me. She's like, well, there's 2 or 3 lots over here in so-and-so subdivision, and they're only $22,000. And I'm like, well, where are you getting this information? And it was, one of those sites. And I said, well, I'll check it out. I said, but for this location, because he's over close to River Cut, it's actually where they were.
Oh, wow.
I said, I don't think this is correct. So they're saying these lots are $22,000. They was really like $45,000, $50,000,
Wow.
And so you just have to be aware. Not saying those are bad places to go look, but don't always take what they say to be the gospel.
Yeah. And it's not that those companies or websites are trying to do anything malicious.
Right.
I don't think it's just they don't have the accurate information that a local agent or a local individual will have access to.
Yeah, exactly. So
Can you even buy a lot for $22,000 anymore?
well, it's tough.
Getting harder, but not in
I bet.
Rivercut.
No, not right. Well, no, definitely not there. But
It is getting tougher. We ended up finding a lot in 26.9, and there's some places. I have some at Fairgrove for $9,900. But for here in Springfield or just right outside of Springfield, it's really tough to find anything under $25,000-$30,000.
I would think so. Yeah, I would think that
A few
would
years
be
ago, there was things with Springfield addresses in the high teens.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
but
Well, they're not making more land, so
no,
it's not.
No.
That's just it is what it is.
it is what it is. That's true, and it's really is, like Ron said, getting harder to find because it's
Maybe that's a business we should go into, land making.
make.
I think we
If
might
you
be able
can
to
figure
corner
out how
the
to
market
do
on
that,
that
yeah,
one,
yeah. Let me know when you get that worked out, Ron.
I'll work on that and get back with you guys.
Okay, that'd be super. Yeah, I'll invest in that.
Yeah. Well,
Kind of like that sinkhole insurance they tried to get into.
Yeah.
That sounds like I'm going to do that.
One of the things is it costs so much to put in to all your infrastructure and everything in a subdivision now. And so that makes the price of the lots. I mean, you have to get a premium for them because, time you put your streets in and your
to make it
sewers
worth
and
doing
everything,
all
to make
that
it worth doing.
and
Sure.
really
Yeah.
taking that risk that other people are going to be like, hey, yeah, this is a good place to build.
Sure.
So
Right.
that's a big risk to
Absolutely.
take as a developer.
So,
That is a lot of work. There's a lot of permits and a lot of stuff that goes into that. That if you're not in that industry and you haven't dealt with that,
yeah.
it can just about be overwhelming. It takes
can.
lots of time and it's very costly to do that. I have a
Yeah.
friend who's doing that with some properties she has in Nixa, and they started a few years ago, and it's just been crazy the
Yeah.
amount of money they've put into it just to get all the infrastructure, to get everything, to get all the lots zoned.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's just so many things you have to go through before you can even attempt to start selling them.
Yep.
So it's very costly for sure.
Yeah, it is. So, lots are getting fewer.
They are. I had a client looking for some this past spring, and it was just really hard to find.
Especially if you want in a real specific area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you're really nailed down to a certain area and then you want to buy something that specific, it can be tough.
Well, we're starting to get to the point as I think a local community where, especially in Springfield, the things that are in Springfield's existing city limits, they're pretty much built up to the max. I mean, there's some vacant land within the city limits of Springfield, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think there would be.
No.
So even in some of the close communities too, I think it's getting harder to find if you're wanting to be kind of out in the country but close in.
They're getting harder to find. Their building is just having to go further and
Yeah.
further out to be able to
I mean,
keep
even
building.
Clever. You look at a place like Clever.
Yeah.
A few years ago, there just wasn't that much there. That place, I went through Clever not too long ago, and I don't remember why. Oh yeah, I was delivering something out there, and I was like, "Wow."
Oh, yeah. Clever's
What in
a
the
little community
world?
that's just,
There is so
mean,
much
yeah.
happened in the last few years in Clever.
I think I remember reading somewhere that since around 2000, 2001, it's over doubled in population.
I can believe it, and they
Yeah.
have like a grocery store, and they have
Yeah.
all these retail places. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this doesn't look like Clever anymore.
yeah.
So
When we were living out at Republic at Shula Ridge, it was just a few miles across over there to Clever, and we would actually go over there sometimes. Go to the Summer Fresh. They got a new Dollar General there, and all kinds of stuff.
I
so,
know.
So I can see where some of these small communities are really going to prosper from the fact that we have nothing, hardly, no building lots here in Springfield. So people are going to go to these smaller communities, and
nothing wrong with that.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
No.
Nothing wrong with
One
that.
thing I have noticed too in the past is the demand for people wanting to be more out in the country versus in the city is kind of also relative to gas prices too. And you see a
Sure.
big spike in gas prices, people think about moving in closer to work and things like that. And
Yeah.
when they're a little bit on the lower side, it tends to not be as big of an issue for a lot of people.
I've thought about that a little bit, but man, you just can't give up that lake. I'm telling
Oh,
you.
that view I seen.
Yeah, I
that
took a
you
picture last night. Oh, it was just
Yeah.
absolutely incredible
Yeah.
view off my front deck, overlooking the bluff and the sun going down. I was
Rub
like,
it in a little bit more.
I will.
Yeah, just
I will.
Yeah.
You guys were storming, and it was like gorgeous down there in
Yeah.
God's country. Let me tell you,
Keep rubbing.
It was
Mary.
amazing.
Keep rubbing.
it's hard to get that in town, guys. Sorry.
it is.
Oh
It
yeah,
is,
yeah. That's for sure.
Although I do have a nice water detention area that I can look over and see.
Well, there
the-
you go.
The
You can
floodwater
pretend.
From the rains go by.
You
yeah.
can pretend you're at the lake if
Yeah.
it rains hard enough.
I just looked over my back privacy fence into my neighbor's backyard. Was my view last night.
Yeah.
So
Well, I texted someone last night, told them I was getting ready to go for a bike ride, and they're like, "Well, it's storming here," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, it's not here." And I was gone I went about 50, 60 miles, and it was beautiful the whole way. So
yeah.
you just got to live right or live south or something. I don't know.
Live right or live south, one or the other. There you go. So you see things picking up a lot on the older houses and stuff here in town.
As far as existing homes, yeah. There's still, I think, there's not the supply I'd like to see. It's taken a while for some clients to be able to find really the houses they want, and I think there's still just a lot that's not on the market yet that I think hopefully next summer and next winter through the spring will kind of really start getting some more things on the market.
I've seen a slowdown on foreclosures myself.
There's been a huge slowdown on
Because
foreclosures.
you and I used to go out and look at quite a few
Yeah.
when they come up, and we haven't.
There's been
you know,
just a few that I've seen that have popped an interest, but there's so many bids on them, they get bid up so
Sure.
high.
Oh, really?
So quickly, yeah. There's one this past, I guess it was spring, or it might have even been in the winter, that I put a bid on for a client, and it started at $60,000 and it ended up going for over $75,000.
Oh, wow.
And so it really, and for around here, it's rare for a house to get bid up
Sure.
that high. But yeah, so the foreclosures are down, which is great for the market as a whole, so property values can start coming up. For investors, it makes it a little frustrating not being able to find the good deals that we got spoiled by the last few years. But as a whole, it's definitely a good thing.
Are you finding that people who have been renting for a while, maybe they've been standing on the sidelines for a little while and rented when things just kind of all fell apart, and maybe they lost their home for whatever reason? Are they starting to come back into the market and start buying again, or can you tell?
Not in any significant manner.
No.
I think a lot of people that did lose a home when things went down are still probably a little gun shy about getting back in there. They feel comfortable renting. They don't have a big obligation. They're more flexible that way. People in the younger generations are still not coming back as much as we would like for those first-time home buyers. Again, they've seen either their parents or their friends' parents lose homes. We've seen their parents or their friends' parents start to lose homes, and so they're a little gun-shy about getting into home ownership too. But hopefully, as things continue to get normalized and people feel more secure in their jobs, that they're not going to go away, that'll start to change here in the next 6 months to a year.
I'd be a little gun-shy too.
Absolutely. It's definitely
Sure.
understand. And you're coming from where most of that first-time home buyer generation doesn't really like debt. They don't really like having credit cards. They've seen a lot of people get in trouble with it. And so the thought of a 30-year mortgage is a lot to them. And I mean, it should be something that people take seriously.
Sure, absolutely. I just got the signal we have to take a break, guys.
Really?
So,
Well,
yeah, we're already
golly.
halfway through.
That's incredible.
That
This
is
hour
incredible.
goes too fast.
It does. It does.
Well, I'm awfully fun, so I don't...
You are.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
are.
Yeah, you
Well, we're
are.
going to take a break on that happy note, and we'll be back shortly.
Now if you've got a problem and you don't know what to do, your siding's going bad and you're plagued with green mildew. Well, your faucets, they all drip and your sinks are all clogged up too. Well, there's no need to worry. I'll tell you what you can do. Just call Home Repairs and Solutions. Home Repairs and Solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house. They'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home Repairs and Solutions.
Here's news on the Ozarks News Network. A teenager is dead and a man in custody following a stabbing in Nixa. The 15-year-old victim was stabbed in the throat at the Pheasant Run Apartments. A 21-year-old has been taken into custody. Heroin use in Springfield is on the rise. Police say they've confiscated more of the drug during the first 6 months of this year than during the past 4 years combined. Officers say it seems to be coming to the Ozarks from Chicago by way of St. Louis. And the Route MM bridge over I-44 west of Springfield will be demolished at midnight tonight. Traffic disruptions on I-44 and Route MM will start at 7 tonight and last until 6 p.m. Saturday. Traffic will be rerouted over the ramps at the interchange during the work. For the Ozarks News Network, I'm Arlen Summers.
Sunny clouds today with an afternoon shower or thunderstorm. Humid with a high 88, then humid tonight with patchy clouds along with a late night shower, low 68. Sunny clouds with a shower or thunderstorm around 4 tomorrow, a high of 88 and a low tomorrow night of 67. Humid Sunday with clouds and sunshine, high 88. Widely separated thunderstorms Monday, high 87. I'm AccuWeather's Kevin Snyder.
It's 80 degrees at AM 560 KWTO.
Hi, this is Rick from Barnstown and Country, and if your refrigerator or your freezer is on its last leg, check out our large selection of American-made Whirlpool appliances. You can receive up to $600 rebate on Whirlpool appliances. Save on washers, dryers, built-in cooking, ranges, dishwashers, and even Whirlpool refrigerators. Add that up with no city sales tax, free delivery and haul-off, and then you have a price that can't be beat. During an all-comes-together event going on now at Barnstown and Country, located just 3 miles west of the new Airport Boulevard, see the good old boys today that sell furniture and appliances.
Simply Yo, oh, 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 oh. Simply Yo, hey, let's go. Yogurt, custard, gelato, sorbet, ice, Italiano. Put it in a cup, put it in a cone. Add your favorite toppings, make it your own. Give it a taste to see what you create. like Cynthia. Oh, 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 Cynthia. Hey, let's go.
3600 South Campbell.
Don't miss Morning Line every weekday morning, 7 to 9 o'clock on AM 560 KWTO. We will be talking about everything that affects us in the Ozarks and, of course, taking your calls. That's Morning Line every weekday morning, 7 to 9 o'clock, AM 560 KWTO, or listen to us live on newstalk560.com.
Well, I went down to the hardware store to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions."
Welcome back to the Home Repairs and Solutions Show, brought to you by Spring Mountain Air, your authorized Amana dealer. Your hosts for Home Repairs and Solutions are Mark Withers and Mary Pearson. And if you would like to be part of the show, if you have home repair questions or any questions that please call 862-9977 or 1-800-375-0056. Or if you prefer to text, the text number is
417-838-3192. And that'll get you right to us.
Yes, it will. And we'll ask your question live on the air.
That's right.
Because if you have that question, probably someone else has the same question.
Yeah.
So
there's no such thing as a stupid question.
I don't know about that one.
Well,
I've always heard the only stupid question is the one you don't ask.
you don't ask.
So
But I've heard some pretty stupid ones.
I've heard some doozies. I mean, I've heard some doozies. It's good that, you're
you're
trying
going
to
to scare
learn.
callers off, guys. Come on. No, really, and especially when it comes to real estate, and if you're kind of new to real estate, and if you're in the market to purchase a home, there are no stupid questions.
No.
You really need to know what
do.
you're doing and ask lots of questions. And
Absolutely. I'll have a lot of clients. They'll ask questions, and they'll even say, I'm sorry if this is a dumb question. And if someone's not doing this every day, in real estate, there's a process to it that is what you're hiring an agent for, is to help you with that. And so when you're trying to learn this, you should try to be as informed as you can be. Always ask questions to your agent. Your agent might not have the answer right there, but they should do everything they can do to get that for you as quickly as can.
Yeah. Well, I got a question for you, because I know there's some people out there that they just have it in their mindset that they can sell their own house.
I was just thinking the same thing.
The good old FSBO, for sale by owner.
Yep.
Educate people on what they're going to get into. I mean, yeah, you can do it.
Absolutely. And
You can do it, but there's some things that an agent can do for you that you can't do yourself.
the biggest thing that's going to be the difference with an agent and trying to sell it by yourself is the exposure that the agent will be able to bring to it.
Yeah, an individual can't afford to do the marketing typically that an agent can
Well,
do.
they're just not going to have access to the multi-list system. Now, there are some of those Zillow and websites like that you can put for sale by owner stuff on and Craigslist, but it's still not going to get the activity that you would have being listed with an agent through their multi-list system. That's just where most houses sell is because of that. Now, some people can and do feel comfortable doing it for sale by owner. But I think that if you are going to do it that way, you need to at least offer a commission to an agent who would possibly bring a buyer. Because again, if you have that on your flyers or on your sign, that will entice agents to still bring buyers. Because if they don't think they're going to get paid for it, then they're not. Well, we can't really work for free.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Ron.
Well, yeah, I know. Greedy me wanting to
Get paid for your work.
I know. What was I thinking? So if you are going to do for sale by owner, you should still be willing to work with a buyer's agent because they're going to be able to bring some people to you as well.
Yeah.
But again, the main reason people are getting an agent is, one, the marketing of the property, and two, once you get contracts, someone who's an experienced negotiator that can negotiate on your behalf, someone who knows what the contract says, especially when you're negotiating any inspections and repairs, because there's certain things you can ask for to be repaired for the contract and some things you can't. And so having someone who deals with that daily, I think it's real important, and that someone that's paid to be on your side, paid to have the real estate agent in a real estate transaction is the only person who has a legal responsibility to do what's in your best interest. everyone else, the lender and everybody else, they're doing it for business. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of great lenders out there. I'm not saying they're going to do anything illegal, but the real estate agent has a legal responsibility to have your best interest in mind.
Right. And if I'm sitting there, if I'm the FSBO person, and I'm sitting there and I get an offer, and there's so many different loan types. There's the USDA, there's the FHA, there's this, that, and the other. Somebody wants you to pay part of their closing costs. Somebody wants you to do this, do that. It can be really stressful and mind-boggling if you don't have a clue what they're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. It can kind of be overwhelming for some people. And again, there's certain people that they can handle it fine. It's not going to bother them at all, and that's fine. But for the most part, again, you're paying for that representation, that expertise of someone that does this day after day and really knows what they're doing.
Right. And another, if you're trying to sell your property, you're probably going to sell it faster if you list it with an agent.
And I don't know the statistics right off the top of my head, but time on market is drastically less when you're listed with an agent versus listing it by yourself. One of the main reasons is when going to price a home, a homeowner is going to price it to what they just think it's worth. They're not going to necessarily have any data to support what their asking price is. And a lot of times when a homeowner tries to price it themselves, there's a bit of an emotional value that they put on it that is worth something to them, but it's not necessarily worth something to somebody else. So that is pretty common with for sale by owners as well, where an agent is going to just list it based on its competition, what similar homes have sold for in the past, and what the homes in the neighborhood are going for.
Yeah. Well, I just cleaned these carpets and put new blinds up, this, that, and the other.
Yep.
Yeah, I spent the money to do it, but does that necessarily mean it's going to bring more money for the house? Probably not. It may make it sell faster.
Absolutely. And there is value to selling faster. And I think we've talked about on the show before, there are certain upgrades and maintenance things that you do to your home just because they're maintenance items that you have to do to home, not because it adds value. A house is expected to have a roof on it. It's expected to have a furnace and air. It's expected to have either flooring,
certain things,
carpet, hardwoods, something like that. So cleaning carpets or putting new carpet in doesn't necessarily add value unless you bought it really cheap in that condition. But if all the houses in your neighborhood are worth $100,000 and they all have the same stuff in it, putting new carpet in it isn't really going to necessarily set it apart to where it's going to be worth a lot more.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I think about, if you're trying to do for sale by owner, who pre-qualifies the people that want to look at it? So that would be the next thing. Is I mean, you could just have anybody who went, oh, that's a neat house. Well, it's for sale by owner. Let's just look at it. Well, you don't know if these people are going to be qualified to buy it. If you're just open house for whoever wants to see what you got.
And as a for sale by owner, again, I don't know if a lot of them would do this, but they could ask anybody they call if they've been pre-qualified. But as an agent, one of the first steps I have my buyers do is get pre-qualified. One, for me, so I know they can buy a house, so it's going to be time well spent. But also for them, when they do find the house that they want to buy, they're ready to buy it. They don't have to wait that extra day to go get pre-qualified which would give an opportunity for another offer to come in. And we are starting to get to the point where we're getting back into the multiple offer situations, getting into bidding wars.
These houses are selling so fast too. I mean, I've seen them listed today and they're gone tomorrow.
Compared to the way it's been the last few years, they've really kind of picked up quite a bit. But we had a client earlier this week, found a house, liked it, went to make an offer. There was 2 other offers on it. So it's kind of getting back to that point where the good houses are going to start selling pretty quick again, and there's going to be competition for them.
Sure.
So if you're pre-qualified and you know where you're at, then when you find what you want, you're ready to go. And you're not going to be wasting time, like Ron said.
And then another big reason why it's good to get pre-qualified first is it lets you know what price range you can be in. If you go out looking first and you're looking at $250,000 houses and you come back and you're only pre-qualified for a $199,000 house, none of those $100,000 or $199,000 houses are going to look good because you're used to looking at $250,000 houses, and that can really make it hard for buyers once they get the idea of what they want in their head versus what they can actually afford.
There's nothing worse than going out and showing somebody something right off the bat that they can't afford.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing to do. And,
it just sets their expectation unrealistically high. and they're going to always be comparing other houses to that house that they
Sure.
could never afford in the first place.
Right. And I've had some people have the misconception that if you list your house, you're going to have just people walking through your house all the time, and they're just coming to look to see what you have so they can come back and steal it later. and
Lock the door.
yeah, I mean, but it don't work that way. With the way it is nowadays, with our new lock boxes that we just all went through, changing out and stuff, we know who's been in the house.
Yeah.
But an agent normally will not take somebody unless they know they are actually in the market for a house. They know that they can buy that house. I'm not going to waste my time just showing the house to just anybody if I don't.
Well, and also as an agent, it's your responsibility as you're letting people into these homes that you need to keep an eye on them. You don't. Not that I think all my clients are going to steal anything, but it's your responsibility just to be in the house with them. Make sure you don't got to follow them around like a shadow, but just know where their
Make sure that their pockets aren't bulgy when they walk out the door.
Exactly.
They're not carrying a TV.
Clinking when they're going out.
That's part of, I think, our responsibility as agents when we're showing homes. But we've had that subject come up with clients too. Is it safe? But yes, the way we can track who's been in and out of the house, it's pretty reliable to where we can really, if something does happen like that, we can at least find the ways to get in contact with that person or at least give information to the police if something happened. But I've been in real estate for about 7 years now. To my knowledge, I've never had anything stolen out of a house.
No, I haven't either. So, but
that's good.
But it is amazing. People still have that conception or misconception that
one thing that it is something to look out for, and it happens more during open houses than it does during showings, is sometimes people go in during an open house and go through medicine cabinets.
Really?
Yep, that has happened.
Wow.
So if you do have any prescription pills and you're going to have a house open, I would suggest hiding those a little bit better. And for agents, you need to be careful if there's a real busy open house and you notice people are starting to separate. They'll kind of do that to get your attention elsewhere, and while someone goes in the bathroom. Again, this isn't a real big thing that happens, but it does happen that you just can that you can easily prevent by taking away those temptations from people.
And you know how I prevent that?
How's that?
I don't do open houses.
Well, that's my that's my favorite way to prevent them too.
Yeah.
I like
I know
having my someday
sometimes
You just don't do
we
them.
just have to, but
Yeah.
no, I prefer not. So.
I'm with you, and that's not to say that open houses can't work to sell your
Sure,
house. It's
absolutely.
just again, I think it goes back to the way people start looking at homes anymore is they start looking at online. They'll go through those virtual tours where a lot of times they can get the feel if they like the house or not. And if they do, then they might go to the open house. But I think that's why you see a lot of open house traffic slow down, is because people are eliminating it before they even go to the house.
Sure. And I've always felt open houses are just a way for your neighbors to have entertainment on a Sunday afternoon and see what all you have,
I held an open house a couple weeks ago, and not quite half the people that came through were neighbors.
Yeah.
And
Really?
which sometimes
Interesting.
your neighbors can help you sell your house. They'll be talking to a friend of, this great house that I saw in my neighborhood. You should come check it out. But most of the time, it's they're curious to see what your house looks like. Yeah.
Because if they see that sign up in their yard, they're going to know, and they're going to tell their friends about it, whether they come in it or not.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, but, yeah. So.
Well, and I would think if it's in a neighborhood or something like that, I think if I owned there, I'd be curious as to what they were going to sell it for also.
Yeah.
You want to know what it's being priced at and things like that, which you can get that information without going to the house.
Yeah.
But that would be something if, and I would be curious
That's
to know.
absolutely. Anytime a house comes for sale in my neighborhood, I look it up to see what it's going for.
Sure.
Yeah.
Kind of monitor the market and see what's going on in your neighborhood. And so...
Yeah, that's a good way to judge, what's happening. And,
and it's good for people to have an idea whether they're thinking of wanting to sell their house or not, to just have a good idea of what their home might be worth and what the other homes in their neighborhood are. That way, if you do ever think to sell, you at least kind of have a starting point of what to expect you might get from it.
Right. It's a good thing to do.
I'd also think maybe if you were thinking about maybe remodeling your home and you're in a neighborhood and there was some for sale, you might want to check them. Make sure you don't price your house for the area that you're in.
Don't over
update.
Then also, it gives people ideas of what to remodel, because a lot of times, before someone puts the house on the market, they may put in new light fixtures or put in new carpet or flooring. So neighbors will go in and try to get ideas of, or not just even neighbors, just people will go to open houses in general to try to get ideas of what updates to do to keep their house modernized, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, new houses, I look at those a little bit different. I don't mind opening up a new house, and so people can actually walk through it and see.
I think the new construction market's a little different in that way for existing construction. With new construction, a lot of times since the house is being built, there might not be a lot of photos for them to see online, and so they really can get a better idea of the floor plan by going to one that's open house and stuff like that. So I agree with you there. I do think on new construction it does probably have a little bit bigger impact than it does on existing. And a lot of times too, because people will go to a new construction neighborhood and they can walk through several different ones at once.
Yeah. So if nothing else, it's good entertainment on a Sunday afternoon.
It could definitely be that.
Yeah. Unless you're a NASCAR fan like me, it's Sunday afternoons.
It's NASCAR time.
NASCAR time.
Well, I'm not a fan of that either, so
Well,
I could do open houses on Sunday and be entertained.
I guess.
Is it still a little bit cheaper to buy an existing home than to build one? Per square foot wise, what's the cost basis? Is a new house, like if you had an existing house and you were going to build that existing house as new, where would it come out price wise? I'm just curious about that. If you can buy one cheaper, then you could build the exact same thing.
I think it kind of depends on what you're going for.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I think, right now fairly close. But because I know you guys, Mark, are building some of your 4-bedroom houses with 3-car garages. It's not. There's just no existing home like that you can buy. And, most of those size homes and in that price range are only going to have a 2-car garage, where they have one with a 3-car garage. And so I think the benefit you get a lot with new construction is you get more of the modern conveniences for the same price as what an older home might be. And that's with construction costs probably always going to increase. That might start changing a little bit, but it's going to be pretty competitive right now.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I'm finding out, and I've just been dealing with this week on the folks that I've been looking for a lot for to buy. The price of the lots, you have to factor that in, with the house. This particular plan that these folks has picked out, it's around 1,780 foot. I need to keep that within my budget of $164,000 for these people.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really tough. You have to really watch what you do. Normally that same house, we're going to put granite countertops in. We don't build anything less than a 3-car garage unless somebody absolutely wants it to. So this will have a 3-car garage. In the subdivision, they require we have to do all stone or masonry front, so that means the front will have to all be brick or stone. We can do the sides and the back in vinyl. But it's things like that you really have to watch. And with the higher price lot, because that same house, we've been building on a lot that's a few $1,000s cheaper. That all factors in. It's really, really tough to do to keep that really under $100 a square foot. I'm hoping we can do this.
So that's new construction cost?
That's new construction
about $100
cost.
a square foot.
But Tom, we figure in our cost to build that. We pay, my salary, my construction manager's salary, our secretary. We have,
all the overhead. And
know how all the overhead and everything runs. Time you figure all that in, the cost of materials, and no doubt they're going to want to make some changes. And I've already had this little talk with these folks. Hey, listen, we're going to be so close on this. Because I'm not going to build it for nothing.
No, absolutely.
And so we're going to
What's with you guys today?
Yeah, I know that's terrible. But I'm not going to build that house for nothing. And even though I love these folks to death, I still am in the business just like all the other builders to make money.
Sure.
And you have to really watch, and you have to be able to control your people that you're building for. It's one thing to go out there and build a spec for somebody, because we can build a spec and keep it priced pretty much where we need it. When you start doing customs, it's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, yeah.
And so you really have to be able to control your buyers, and that's really hard to do sometimes.
It can be, yeah.
And I've already had this conversation with them. When I set you a budget on light fixtures, appliances, flooring, all this stuff, we have to stick with your budget.
There's a reason that budget's there.
Yeah, because if not, the finished product, we're going to come out $10,000, $15,000 more. You guys are going to be mad at me. your banker's really going to be mad
Oh,
because
yeah.
they don't want to loan you this money. We'll end up stuck with a spec house.
yeah.
Because, so
A
see,
custom spec.
a custom spec.
Yeah.
So you have to have these conversations with folks. Most people are really good about it.
Yeah, and I think it all comes back to expectations. If they know what they're getting into from the get-go, then I think most people are fine with it. And I think, but it's only when they get surprised where you start to run into issues. And I think going back to the difference between new construction and existing homes, I think the biggest thing that you get with new construction is you can get more what you want. Where with an existing home, you just, if it happens to fit your needs or fit your style, there's a lot more to choose from that way. But with doing new construction, you might pay a little bit more, but you're going to get exactly what you want.
Yeah. And we went through that with these folks. I showed them several houses. Well, this might have, this is in the area we want, but it don't have this. Or, so, and you're never going, I don't care even if you build your house, it's never going to be absolutely perfect.
Because when it's done,
you could change here or you do a little different.
Yeah, once
the
it's
second time.
done and you're living there, think, wonder why we didn't do this or why we didn't do that.
But you are right. It's more opportunity for a person to get closer to what they really want. And especially if they're thinking about staying there several years or making it their, lifetime home.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to do.
Absolutely.
On these USD, is it USDA loans?
Yes, USDA, yes.
Are they still available?
Yes.
Are they still just the outlying areas? Like, is Nixa out?
Nixa actually just this year got added.
Oh, Nixa's in.
So before they haven't been, so that's opening up that whole market to USDA loans, which I think is really going to help the Nixa market out.
Okay.
Several times a year in the past, we've had people wanting to be in Nixa, but they had to do USDA, and so that had to be ruled out automatically. So I think that's going to help the Nixa market out a lot. All the existing surrounding areas stayed USDA. There was talk maybe one or two of them not being USDA, but they've all stayed USDA. So pretty much around here, the only thing that's not USDA is Springfield.
Oh, okay.
And there are some, if you get on the very outer limits of the US or Springfield area, there's a few houses with Springfield addresses that do qualify for USDA, but it's very few. You have to go onto the USDA website and type in the address
and find it, see if it is.
So
okay.
You can
call your realtor,
or call your real estate agent, and they can do that work for you because that's what they get paid for.
That's right. You know what? We're going to be out of time here in just
really
quickly. You have not given out your contact information, Ron.
I'm bad about that.
I know. We just keep talking. Well, how can they get a hold of you, Ron, if they're looking to buy or sell a home?
You can just call me at my cell phone at 417-766-3559 or at my office, which is Remax House of Brokers, and that's 887-5333.
Thanks for being with us today.
Oh,
it was
thanks
great
for
to have
having me.
you back.
Always a pleasure.
What are you doing?
River Bluff Fellowship tomorrow, bluegrass and barbecue. We're going to feed you free and a great music, and all starts tomorrow evening at about 4 in the afternoon.
Sounds like fun.
So we want everybody to come out.
Sounds great. Maybe I'll stop by.
I'd love for you to.
All righty.
So what are you doing?
I'm gonna come see you.
Okay, I'll count on that then. So, well, this is Home Repairs and Solutions. We're heard every Friday morning from 10 to 11, AM 560, KDBTO.